Hey, welcome to the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. It's Sunday, October 15th. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I want to start off this evening by just apologizing for the late start. You're watching this by video, you don't realize that we're 15 minutes late. It's not my fault. I'll explain that some other time. But I'm glad you're here. We have a lot of things to talk about. I want to start off this evening just talking about some politics. I've entitled this particular article, Not Paying Attention. One high-profile Biden voter, a woman by the name of Naomi Wolf. She's a feminist author. She took to Twitter last Sunday to express buyer's remorse after she learned what Democrat Joe Biden really wants to do as president. She wrote, "If I'd have known Biden was open to lockdowns, as he now states, which is something historically unprecedented in any pandemic and a terrifying practice, one that won't ever end because elites love it, I would have never voted for him." My opinion, where were you? How come you didn't know this? An election worker in Detroit has signed an affidavit alleging that she witnessed widespread election fraud in the city leading up to and during Tuesday's presidential election. In the affidavit, a woman named Jessie Jacob said she directly witnessed her fellow election officers attempting to coach voters to cast ballots for Democrat presidential nominee Joe Biden. This according to the Newsweek. This, quote, Detroit elections worker said, "I was instructed by my supervisor to adjust the mailing date of these absentee ballots, the absentee ballot packages, that they might be dated earlier than they were actually sent. The supervisor was making announcements for all workers to engage in this practice." She showed the affidavit as proof. She also saw a large number of people showing up to vote in person who had already applied for an absentee ballot. These people were allowed to vote in person. They were not required to return the mailed absentee ballot or sign an affidavit that the voter lost the mailed absentee ballot. This at the same time while NBC, NBC, CBS, and MSNBC and all the rest of them are screaming and hollering and jumping up and down saying, see, nothing was going on here. The president's just got a little burr in his saddle. He'll get over it. We've already got this thing under control. There were no irregularities. Over in Michigan, they got a new allegation of voter fraud. A lawsuit's been filed by something called the Great Lakes Justice Center on behalf of two poll challengers who say multiple levels of improper conduct took place on orders from election officials. The allegations are aimed at election officials from Detroit and Wayne County, according to the release, and are based on affidavits of named individuals who said they witnessed the misconduct. The lawsuit seeks a temporary restraining order that would prohibit officials from certifying the vote until the charges made in the lawsuit can be investigated. The lawsuit said ballots seemed to just appear, and they kept appearing. Quote, after election officials announced the last absentee ballots had been received, another batch of unsecured, unsealed ballots without envelopes arrived in trays at the voting center. There were tens of thousands of these absentee ballots, and apparently every ballot was counted and attributed only to Democrat candidates. Unsecured ballots arrived at the center loading garage, not sealed in ballot boxes without any chain of custody and without envelopes. The complaint alleged that some ballots arrived in vehicles with out-of-state license plates and that it was observed that all of these new ballots were cast for Joe Biden. The complaint went on to claim that election workers systematically used false information to process ballots, such as using incorrect or false birthdays. Many times the election officers inserted new names into the qualified voter file section after the election and recorded those new voters as having a birth date of January 1st, 1900. Defendants systematically processed and counted ballots from voters whose names failed to appear on either the QVF or the supplemental sheets. When a voter's name could not be found, the election worker assigned the ballot to a random name already in the system of a person who had not voted. This according to a complaint. At charliekirk.com, they told us how the voter tallies from both states spiked at around 6 a.m. in favor of Biden. That according to the graphs of live tallies posted by the website 538. Trump tweeted multiple times Wednesday morning claiming that officials are finding votes for Biden all over the place. But of course, he's just a crazy man. He's losing and he's just saying whatever he has to say. Axios.com talks about an unhappy with news outlet, President Trump, who has told friends he wants to start a digital media company in order to clobber Fox News and undermine what he considers a pseudo-conservative network. Some Trump advisors think Fox News made a mistake with an early call, seconded by the Associated Press, by the way, of a Joe Biden win in Arizona. That enraged the Donald and gave him something tangible to use in his attacks on the network. A source with detailed knowledge of Trump's intentions says he plans to wreck Fox. No doubt about it. Trump is considering a digital media channel that would stream online, which would be cheaper and quicker to start. Trump's digital offering would likely charge a monthly fee to MAGA fans. Many are Fox News viewers, and he claimed to replace the network. Trump has increasingly complained that Fox News interviews more Democrats than it used to. He has needled the network by promoting other conservative outlets, including One America News and Newsmax. ChristianHeadlines.com reports that Life News says that Biden's team has revealed a list of what they call early executive actions as part of the Biden administration's agenda. The document states under the healthcare section, Biden will reverse Trump actions on abortion and reproductive health care, including reversing the Mexico City policy, restoring funding to Planned Parenthood and contraceptive coverage under the ACA. According to Christian Post, President Ronald Reagan first signed the Mexico City policy into law in 1984. The policy requires non-foreign governmental organizations to ensure that they will not use U.S. taxpayer dollars to, quote, perform or actively promote abortion as a method of family planning, unquote. But like Biden, past Democrat President Bill Clinton and Barack Obama opposed the Mexico City policy, and they both rescinded the order during the start of their first terms. Republican President George W. Bush, however, reinstated the policy when he took office in 2001. President Trump likewise reinstated the policy at the start of his administration in 2017. In September, the Trump administration sought to expand the policy even further by applying it to all contracts and subcontracts that provide global health funding. The Kaiser Family Foundation reported that 40% of global health funding obligated to prime recipients in recent years was provided through contracts. Axios' Brian Wash says companies are preparing to design digital immunity certificates for COVID-19 that could be used when a vaccine is available. Why does that matter? Well, the vaccine won't be available to everyone at the same time. So we need some way for those who have been immunized to easily demonstrate that they can safely return to work and to traveling. The easiest way might be a digital certificate that can be linked to a passport or even a mobile phone. Keep in mind the World Health Organization already issues paper yellow cards that act as international certification of vaccination, primarily to be used when entering a country that is in has enhanced health risks to travelers. But a paper certificate, as experts warned earlier this year, could be subject to fraud and would be too difficult to quickly scale up for hundreds of millions of people. Digital certificates, however, could be rapidly and safely distributed and made easily verifiable at borders or even in businesses, which makes biometric technology now used in some passports a viable alternative for this particular situation. They take these digital certificates and they could add onto them biometric passports or other smart ID cards that already contain a small chips that are used to confirm the identity of the holder. Integrating all of these together sounds strangely like a global ID system. Another option would be to make use of the contactless payment system currently available in most recent smartphones. This could easily transport the information that someone has certified immunity. Can you see some of the implications here? All this digital information. Can you say 666? My parents wondered how all of that could possibly come together. They were born in the 1920s, raised their families in the 40s and 50s. Our young people, they have no problem with this. They know exactly how it's going to work. In Michigan, something called Big League Politics, that's a company apparently, received a cease and desist letter from Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel regarding their content at their website, at Detroit Leaks, in which you can hear them explaining and bragging about committing voter fraud in the 2020 election. The Gateway Pundit reported that the reporter who broke this story, someone named Shane Trejo, was also one who was a witness to the voter fraud in Detroit. The article pointed out that the GOP poll watchers were kicked out while Democrat poll workers were being trained to cheat. In the audio, you can hear the poll workers being trained in a variety of ways to cheat the system, from how to lie, deny challenges from Republicans, and even use COVID as an excuse to not allow anyone to get close enough to see what they're doing. If the challengers persisted on seeing, the poll workers were instructed to call 911. So did the Democrats win? WesternJournal.com says, except for potentially the inside track to the presidency, the Democrats can't claim much from 2020. Cementing their House majority for years to come, not only did that not happen, the Democrats will likely have lost seats once everything shakes out. Taking the Senate, any chance of a 50-50 split will rest on winning 2 Senate runoffs in Georgia, one of which involves peddling the not very popular John Ossoff to an electorate not energized enough by the presidential race to even vote for him. However, it isn't just that the Democrats failed to expand the map. They won't be redrawing it either. And that's something that could doom the party in the next decade. So what are we going to expect from a Biden administration? Axios.com suggests that Biden will announce a pandemic task force ahead of any other cabinet or senior staff appointment. I say I agree. Aides say that longer term, a Biden administration will re-engage with the World Health Organization, and work on global and domestic vaccine distribution while developing federal standards on mask protocols and pushing for a relief package for hospitals and state and local governments. Among other top priorities, spending. Work on an economic relief bill will start before inauguration, with a possible package in the lame duck Congress. A lot depends on the final Senate makeup as well as the severity of the pandemic. When it comes to taxes, Biden has pledged to push for a corporate tax increase and higher taxes on the wealthy. But don't expect tax legislation to be on the spring agenda. Immigration, a rollback of all President Trump's executive orders and the implementation of new ones. Democrats point out that Trump did 24 orders in his first 100 days. They claim Biden will do more. Later in the year, he'll look at legislation on the so-called dreamers. When it comes to the climate, they will rejoin the Paris Agreement on day one, but any legislative action gets very hard. So they're asking us to be patient. The administration will have to decide whether to seek trillions of dollars to invest in the green economy or push for a price on carbon. It's unclear if there's an appetite for either one. In Iran, send an immediate signal to the Europeans and Tehran about rejoining the nuclear deal and a possible offer of humanitarian assistance to Iran to signal good intent. In Europe, send a message that allies matter and call every leader with a message, we're back. Plan a big presence at the Munich Security Conference, even if it is a virtual situation. In Russia, immediately start negotiating a START 2 extension, something that expires in February 5. Punish Putin if election meddling is found. In China, keep some Trump tariffs in place and take a look at agricultural purchases. I would add to that, take a look at undoing everything Trump has done relative to China and the way they handle us in terms of economics. It ain't over till it's over. The pundits are saying it's probably over. And usually that means it's over. But Trump is not done. And even if he ends up not being president for the next 4 years, short of somebody shooting him, he'll be back. And when he comes back, I think he's going to come back stronger. That's the kind of stuff that was going on in this world while you were busy doing what you do. When we come back, we're going to look a little bit more at our changing culture. Stay tuned.